Hi everyone, and it's Jaffa the Killer. I know it's been taking me longer to post content, and I thank you all who understand. I've had a lot on my plate lately, and I tend to stress very easily, and other things going on right now. Um, I want you all to know that even if it takes me a while to post, it does not mean I'll leave a story or my work unfinished. Please bear with me here. Also, if you haven't, I'd really appreciate if you share my videos to spread the word. Um, a little bit of love here and there would help a lot. Furthermore, if you haven't yet subscribed, it'd be great if you did, so that you can be notified whenever I post new videos, and not have to struggle looking up my channel to check out if I've posted or not. For those who haven't seen my first posts and have been there with me since, I want to thank you for all your support. If you're new, I hope you enjoy my content. I really appreciate your support as well. If any of you have any suggestions or advice, do not hesitate to leave a comment. I can take the criticism, so feel free. If you'd like to leave a private message, just let me know and I can give you my email. Furthermore, I would really appreciate it if you share the videos of my Toby mini-series that I wrote. I also posted it on Wattpad for those interested in reading it. I'll leave my name and my link to my Wattpad account on the description for those of you interested. And if you haven't seen it and would like to, I also made a playlist with all of the parts titled Toby miniseries on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. I could really use all the help I can to grow my channel. Whew, that was a lot of rambling, but I just wanted to let you know how grateful I am to have all of you. Anywho, I'll shut up now and proceed with the story.
Wearisome orbs bore into the perilous killer's back, the delineation of his form retreating to the shadows. The obscurity of his actions were errant, vulnerable. Such words would never be said to elucidate someone of his nature, but it was true. There was this vulnerability about him. It made you aspire to console him, to remind him that although he thought he was facing these demons on his own, he wasn't. Throughout this pilgrimage, you had remained in the darkness of his existence, waiting, hoping, never giving up on him, no matter how near the edge he took you. Peering around, Jeff was no longer in your peripheral vision. He had escorted himself out of the room with such silence it was skillful. It wasn't for the artist slammed the door that you would have no validation if he'd even been there to begin with. Intelligence wasn't just a trick of the eye when it came to Jeff. He had talent. The collision of wood hitting the ample plaster of the wall caused you to flinch. No matter how many times he had repeated the action over the years, the sound still went right through you. It was aggravating. Hesitantly, you followed him. The soft patter-patter of bare feet, a far comparison to his heavy footsteps. Nerves hurtled through your legs, your limbs strained. These episodes had made you become cautious, episodes that provoked him to act out in unimaginable ways. These episodes were part of him, and as long as you had held onto this false pretense that you loved him, you would accept them. Sometimes you wondered if he felt remorse in that ludicrous head of his. Did he ever think of his family? What about the life he used to have? About the incident? About his brother? Even if he didn't, there was still this little inkling that somehow he still thought about Lou. He hadn't just been Jeff's brother. He had been his best friend, his reason for existing, his everything. Throughout every lie, every excuse, every mistake that he made, you held on to that notion. If it was really Jeffrey Woods who had spoken to you only minutes before that, had he begged for your help, then surely he remembered. Or maybe he was just really good at hiding things. Jeff's mind didn't function the same as yours. There was no proof to verify that what had happened was real. It could have been a ploy, a sick, twisted disguise to turmoil your feelings. He was delusional. You were talking about someone who no longer repressed sanity. Jeff? It was barely a whisper, traversed with a soft breath. Silence. You approached the door with a discretion that you almost resembled the innocence of a child sneaking out of their bedroom on Christmas morning. The nearer you got, the clearer the outline became. Halting, you glanced downwards. Shards of broken glass were scattered across the remainder of the wooden floor. Shards that had once made up a fraction of the mirror. Jeff had been responsible for the destruction. Jittery hands clasped the brass handle, yanking it open to reveal the disheveled living room. "Jeff?" he repeated louder. He stood there, quietly, peering over his shoulder. "You weren't an idiot. You knew you had disrupted him." Harsh breaths filtrated your eardrums, disseminating the remnants of your surroundings. "What?" It was bitter, angry. You gulped. "Do you remember the neighborhood we lived in?" The atmosphere altered drastically around you, exacerbating the goosebumps that erupted across your arms. It was enthralling. Recognition gleamed in his dark orbs. "What about it?" "I want to go back." The illumination of street lamps shone in from the cracks in the window, highlighting a mere percentage of him. Straggly strands of singeing hair draped over his face, concealing his disfigured features. Features that still held some sense of beauty, some sort of attraction. Combat boots grated into the ground as he approached you slowly, his movements delayed, vigorous, deliberate. He was trying to intimidate you. Then he stopped, staring at you, scrutinizing, never blinking. "You're fucking ridiculous. You're fucking ridiculous. Ridiculous. Ridiculous." It was crazy how much a word could affect you, how it could hit you like a concussion, how it repeated like a broken word in your head, seeping beneath the layers of your skin to your very core, how much it hurt you. If you were to describe it, it was like a kick in the teeth, like being stabbed in the back by the person you cared about most. His response had hindered any significance, any sense that you had made. Did the prospect of returning scare him that much that he had to oppose it? Denial. That's what it was. How transcendent that trait was. "If we go back..." "No. Just let me help you." Cerulean orbs narrowed, fixated on your small form, the apex resembling nothing more than vagueness. "I don't need your pity." It was a little more than a hiss, teeth gritting to emphasize just how serious he was. It was an indication, a sign that he was tired of this theorem and you were desperate to consummate. He wanted nothing more to do with it. Nonchalantly, he weaved himself around, stepping towards you in an aggressive manner. His tall physique overtowered you, heat radiating. Determined, you continued. "That house is where the entire thing started." "We're not going back." "Maybe." Your voice was restricted by a callous hand thrusting your shoulder, sharp fingers grasping a fistful of fabric that covered your upper half. It was too loose to be considered a t-shirt. It drowned you. In one instant, there was nothing but emptiness behind you. In the next, the harsh, cold surface of a wall seemed to be your only source of balance. Harsh breaths lingered against your cheek. Warm, raspy. "When I say drop it, I mean fucking drop it." His voice was loud, contentious. There was no tenderness in his tone, no hint of compassion. It was a warning. His chest pressed against yours, pinning you in place. Even if you could move, his aura kept you rooted up to the spot. It wasn't very often that Jeff stood this close to you, that he gave you this much body contact. Normally, he wasn't one for being this touchy. Maybe you'll remember. Whatever tranced you to speak in those moments that followed, you didn't know. Bravery, courageousness, stupidity? No matter what it was, you knew returning to that neighborhood would help him. He could scream at you, hate you, deny it, but he could soon realize you were right. His sanity had been left behind in that house, along with Jeffrey Wood's. Neither had left. If you were going to find them, it was there. Remember what exactly? His response was dark, this calmness eluding from him. Nothing worried you more than when he was placid as he was now. It was harder to read him. Laughter permeated the silence as he tilted his head forward. Chipped lips hovering inches from the bridge of your nose. Creases were still obvious on his forehead, despite the destroyed texture of his bleached skin. Expression still came easily to him. Have I almost killed you? Ominous eyes seized your own in a smirk, drawing you in like a moth to a flame, and yet he pulled away. Distance was placed, his silhouette dissolving into the darkness. How they set me on fire? There was a pause before he finished. How I became like this? Flinching, you shook your head. You never intended for those memories to flood through him like lightning bolts. You never wanted him to remember the tragedy of what led up to him being the way he was now. All you wanted was for him to remember who he used to be, not the baggage that came with that. The hurt in his eyes was enough to crumble your heartstrings. You couldn't cope with the misery that was bottled deep within him. That house is the only place you're ever going to find yourself. Jeff's head snapped over his shoulder, the quick movement causing strands of straggly, singed hair to drape over his face. He scoured her features, pondering the motives behind those words before he sneered. You still call that place a home? It was our home. That place isn't a home. What did I ever do to deserve this? You want to know what you did to deserve this? His mood changed impetuously as he grinned at you, the action stretching the lacerations inflicted on either side of his scarred mouth. In seconds, the wounds had reopened, liquid oozing over his jawline down to his neck. Dripping. He apprised that sensation, that feeling of blood, his blood, staining the off-white material of his hoodie. Scarlet was such a beautiful color to paint with.
You chose me. Combat boots descended from the room, leaving you alone, surrounded by nothing more than sorrow. Jeff was gone. Cravings needed to be satisfied. Hobbies needed to be fulfilled. Victims awaited. This was every day in the life of Jeff the Killer.